Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today, we'll narrate two true stories about messages from beyond the grave. Let us know what you think in the comments area. We hope you enjoy these stories. Please like and subscribe. Let's begin. Story number 1.
It was Saturday morning. I was just preparing my breakfast. Nothing out of the ordinary, a bowl of cereal with milk. The day was going to be busy. My to-do list included lawn mowing, laundry and basement cleanup. Since Linda's death, I'd been trying to keep myself occupied with various chores. I just couldn't sit around and dwell on my pain of losing my wife. We had a good marriage. 35 years together was a long time. We had our ups and downs, but we were soulmates. Even after 2 years, I still felt the same pain. That's probably how it's supposed to be. Anyway. That Saturday morning, I was sitting down to eat my breakfast when I heard a knock at my front door. I went to see who it was. A lady, perhaps in her early 70s, stood on my porch. I had no idea who she was. She gave me a friendly smile and politely greeted me. "Sorry to bother you on this beautiful Saturday morning," she said. "I was wondering if you had time to talk with me. I have an important message for you." I assumed she was one of those Bible preaching types. I just wanted to slam my door in her face. I was still angry at God for taking Linda away. Still, I didn't want to offend the woman. I mumbled something about not having enough time and being late for work, apologized, and shut the door just as she was about to say something. Through the living room window I saw her standing on my front porch for a minute. Then, she walked away. I was certain it was the last time I'd see her. But I was wrong. The same lady returned a few days later. With the same tone of voice and friendly expression, she said to me, "I apologize for bothering you, but I was wondering if you had time to sit and talk with me. I have an important message for you." I was annoyed and told her, "Look. I don't have time for Bible mumbo jumbo. Please leave." She was persistent and said again, "But I have something important to tell you." I just slammed my door. Those Bible thumping folks certainly know how to be persistent, I thought, and yelled, "I don't need Bible, God, angels. None of that nonsense." Then, I heard knocking again. I was ready for a fight when I opened the door, but the lady was gone. There was only a folded piece of paper on my doorstep. I picked it up. The note said, "Linda says to check the furnace." I was furious at this point. This woman has guts, I remember thinking. I vowed that the next time I saw her, she'd get a piece of my mind. Also, how rude of her to play with my feelings. A whole week had passed. My anger subsided and I went about my life as usual. Then, one evening I get a phone call. It was the same woman. She spoke softly, "Linda wants you to check the furnace." I took a deep breath. Feeling irritated, I said, "Look. I don't know who you are, or what your problem is. My wife is dead and there is nothing wrong with my furnace. Why are you doing this to me?" She was silent for a moment, then said, "But she wants you to check the furnace. You need to." The woman then hung up. I was upset again. I checked the caller ID, and it looked like the call came from the local hospital. Maybe it was a psychiatric patient, I thought. I reasoned that she probably found my wife's name online. I never saw or heard from the lady again. Months passed and the winter came. I was tired more than usual and had headaches on a daily basis. Prescription migraine medication had not been effective. My headache was especially excruciating on Christmas Eve. I started holiday dinner preparations early. My children were visiting and I wanted everything to be on time. However, the migraine was simply exhausting. I figured I'd just doze off for a couple of hours, then continue with the holiday preparation. After all, my kids were going to be at my house at dinner time. I figured I had plenty of time. I darkened my bedroom, set my alarm, went to bed and quickly fell asleep. Next thing I remember, I woke up in a hospital room. My children were at my bedside. When I asked what had happened, they told me that I was in the hospital due to carbon monoxide poisoning. I was taken aback. Your furnace's air filter was clogged, causing it to leak carbon monoxide, my son explained. I couldn't say anything. I remember checking the furnace early summer and I didn't see anything wrong. I should have checked it again, as the lady said. Luckily, I was found in time. Apparently, my children came to my house earlier than they said they would. I feel grateful. At the same time, I wondered whether the strange old lady really got a message from my Linda.
Story number 2.
I had just got to work and was about to put my cell phone on vibrate when it rang. It was my father. Every day, we talked on the phone. I answered even though I was about to start my work day. "Hey Dad. I was wondering when you'd call." "Hey Danny," he said. "I just wanted to hear your voice one more time." I thought his response was odd at first because we hadn't talked earlier that day. My father was not a clingy type. We usually talked around noontime. It was our daily routine. We were close. I lived 2 hours away, so I often visited him too. I was the only child in my family. My parents divorced when I was young, and my father raised me. To me, he was everything. I could tell him anything. And despite having many great longtime friends, I considered my dad my best friend. "Dad, I am just starting work," I explained. "I'll call you during my dinner break," I promised. "Sounds good," he said quietly. "I love you, son," he said after a brief pause. "I love you too," I said before hanging up the phone. My responsibilities as a pharmacist kept me busy until dinner time. I got my food at the hospital cafeteria, then sat at a table by the window with a view of the city. I called my father as I promised, but he didn't answer. I didn't give it much thought. I assumed Dad had gone for a walk with Rex, his dog. I decided to call him back tomorrow. Dad will be in bed by the time my shift ends, I reasoned. I texted him quickly, ate my dinner, and returned to work. As an inpatient hospital pharmacist, I require complete focus on my work. My job necessitates a high level of concentration and attention to detail. This is why I keep my personal cell phone in my locker at all times. Years ago, I instructed my father to contact me directly at the pharmacy number in case of a life-threatening emergency. That evening, the rest of my work shift was as stressful and hectic as usual. We had a couple of stroke alerts, and a newborn was critically ill. Other responsibilities included answering phones, responding to emails, as well as reviewing and approving general medication orders. When my shift was over, I checked my phone. There was a missed call as well as a voicemail. The number was unfamiliar to me. Checked the voicemail and there was a woman saying, "Hello, Mr. Roberts. My name is Kelly. I am a nurse at the Fletcher Rogers Hospital. I'm sorry to inform you, but your father suffered a stroke this morning. Passers-by discovered him lying on the ground in a dog park. The bleeding was extensive and the doctors were unable to save him. Please accept my heartfelt condolences and contact me as soon as possible." Shock, grief, sorrow, and pain all seemed to hit me at the same time. My best friend was gone. I was completely out of it, and don't know how I got myself home. I called the nurse Kelly back and arranged to pick up my father's clothes, house keys, and wristwatch. Then she explained why they called me so late. "When they discovered your father, he had no identification on him. We had no idea who to contact until one of our attending doctors, Dr. Michael Jefferson, recognized him and told us to contact you." I knew who the doctor is. Mike was a good friend. Then it struck me. What time did the ambulance arrive at the hospital with my father? I asked the nurse. 8 a.m. she said, and added, "He was declared deceased at 8:30 a.m. I'm very sorry." I thanked her and hung up. I went to clean up my father's house a few days later. His cell phone was on his bedroom dresser, the battery barely charged. I checked the call log and confirmed that the 2:30 p.m. call to me came from my father's phone on the day he died. I now believe in the afterlife.